Welcome, everyone. This is Brother Doug with my sister Shoshana, our brother Dennis, our sister Sally. We are the Awakened by Yahuwah Fellowship in Yahuwah Almighty and Yahushua Messiah. Today we are doing an end times topical study. It's going to deal with the beginning of birth pains, the tribulation, the abomination of desolation, and the day of Yahuwah, and also there will be a portion we will also get to that deals with the woman in the wilderness. So first we're going to go to the beginning of the birth pain, since that's right now where we're in real life. So we're going to start off that. I'm going to go to my WordPad document here so everyone can see, whoever's watching. Okay, so beginning of the birth pains. We're going to start in Matthew 24, and I think we're going to read straight from verses 4 all the way to 14. So here we go. Matthew 24 and verses 4 to 14. Okay, here we go. And Yahusha answering said to them, "Take heed that no one leads you astray or deceives you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray. And you shall begin to hear of fightings and reports of fightings, or wars and rumors of wars would be more accurate there. See that you are not troubled, for these have to take place, but the end is not yet." And let's see here. So you have verse 5 says there will be people that will come and say that they are the Messiah. They will claim to be Yahusha, or even the other interpretation in verse 5 could be that they claim that he is the Messiah, but they're still leading many astray, which has been happening in the televangelist movement, in these TV preachers. So this has been happening, and it is still happening in verse 5.
And these are the first 4 seals, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
The white horse, the red horse, the black horse, and the pale green one.
Yep. And it says, you shall begin to hear of wars and rumors of wars. That's been happening for a while. We've had wars and rumors of wars for a long time now. That's constantly happening, and it's getting more and more and escalating in our modern day. So, and then it says, these have to take place, but the end is not yet. So the end has not happened yet. We're just in the beginning of the birth pains. So, and then it says, and this is where it gets tricky here in the Greek. It's not supposed to be nation here. The actual original Greek word is ethnos, meaning in the English ethnicity. So it's actually supposed to say here, for ethnicity shall rise against ethnicity and reign against reign.
DNA.
So basically, like how you see in the media of black versus white and all this stuff, that was actually prophesied about. That was actually prophesied. You had different ethnicities that would fight against one another. The Native Americans have problems with certain people from the Caucasian type of ethnicity or type of color. So you have constantly a certain ethnicity versus other ethnicity. So that's been being fulfilled right now. And then it says, and there shall be scarcities of food. We've had famines. We keep having famines throughout the world and third world countries and all that. And deadly diseases, that's been happening. Like, the elite like to propagate it themselves, actually, and they like to make their own.
They are creating these diseases.
So they're actually creating, like, maybe you heard of the Ebola virus and all these other viruses that have been released into the public. And earthquakes in places. I remember an earthquake up where I live just a couple of years ago. There was a big earthquake. So that's constantly been happening. Earthquakes in various places, and all these are the beginning of birth pains. And they shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you, and you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Now, verse 9
that
is still
begins as the Great Tribulation,
Mm-hmm.
When they start killing people.
Yep. So Matthew 24:9 can also be valid for when we get into the tribulation portion of this study. So I'm writing that down. And then many shall stumble, or probably a better translation here, will many shall be offended. So we need to be careful not to get so easily offended. And I'm talking about myself and all our brothers and sisters out there. We got to look ourselves in the mirror and examine ourselves. Let's not get easily offended. And they shall deliver up one another and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. Again, he's restating about the wolves in sheep's clothing. He's restating this in Matthew 24. And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. So basically, we have that in Christianity. The law is done away with. And all these doctrines out there, Matthew Nolan telling people you only got to keep parts of the law and subtracting from the Torah. That is causing this to be fulfilled, that lawlessness is increasing in our time right now. It probably started from the creation of Christianity, in my opinion, when the Catholic Church took over from the Orthodox Church and popularized Christianity. This increase of lawlessness started back then. Now it's getting worse and worse and worse. And so that says, the increase of lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. And then verse 13 says, but he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. Now he's obviously in context talking about the end, referring to his return. Okay? And then it says, and this glad tidings, or basora, of the kingdom shall be proclaimed in all the world as a witness to all the nations. Then the end shall come. Now, one thing I want to just comment and just make people aware that in Revelations you will see in the end times, even after Yahushua returns, that there's going to be an angel in mid-heaven proclaiming the eternal glad tidings. So I would present to you that this is not literally meaning that every person is going to be witnessed to before the end comes. I would just try to warn you that that interpretation of this verse could be dangerous to take it that way, because then it's not going to make sense once you get to Babylon being destroyed and the angel flies in mid-heaven in the book of Revelations proclaiming the glad tidings again. So the glad tidings is actually going to be proclaimed after Yahushua first returns. So, but anyway, so that's the last verse there. So we just read Matthew chapter 24, verses 4 to verse 14. Now we're going to go to our next cross reference, and I'm going to try to keep my eye on.
Can I go over the seals quick?
Sure, no problem.
The first white horse represents those who lead you astray. This is why it begins with, take heed that no one lead you astray. And then the red horse is second, and it represents war, which that talks about wars and rumors of wars. And then the famine is the black horse, which is the third seal. And the pale horse, or pale green horse, is the deadly diseases. That's the fourth horse. And then the fifth horse is mentioned, or the fifth seal, which is when they begin killing people because they're hated because they're of Yahushua's name. And that you'll find in verse 9. They shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you, and you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And that's repeated in Luke 21:17. So just wanted to go over that. It just goes through the fifth seal here.
And you can get that from Revelations chapter 6, anyone that wants to look that up. While Shoshana was reading from it, I was showing it on the share screen, so hopefully you guys can see that. I know I'm going kind of quick here. I'll probably add that to our Word document. So let me see here. Since Shoshana just brought up Luke chapter 21, verse 17, I think it's a perfect time to go there right now. And it says here in Luke chapter 21, verse 17, and you shall be hated by all because of my name, or for my name's sake. But a hair of your head shall not be lost at all. Then it says, possess your lives by your endurance. So endure to the end. Again, this is kind of like a second witness to Matthew 24:13. And when you see, yep, go ahead.
You'll find that in Revelation 3:8, that if you keep his commandment of endurance, then he will also keep you from the trial that comes upon the whole world, which we know as the Great Tribulation. And
it says when you
that.
let's read that real quick, and then I'll finish the cross references I had from Luke 21. It says, Revelations chapter 3, verse 8, I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door. No one is able to shut it, but that you have little power, yet have guarded my word and have not denied my name. So the key thing is they have endured, they have not denied his name, and he says he knows their works, meaning obedience to the law. So these are the three things he's bringing out.
And verse 10, you might want to go over, because that's the one I was actually
here we
committed to memory.
Here we go. Because you have guarded my word of endurance, so that would be the word that what he just said in verse 8, I also shall guard you from the hour of trial which shall come upon all the world to try those who dwell on the earth. So I would assess that verse 8 gives you the main things that we need to focus on if we're going to be guarded from the hour of temptation that comes upon the earth. And the word of his endurance would be what he states in verse 8. And verse 10 talks about, because you have guarded my word in endurance, I shall guard you or keep you from the hour of temptation which shall come upon all the world to try those who dwell on the earth. And that's verse 10. So now we're going to go back to Luke 21, and I believe I was at verse 20. And this is where it starts getting to this is the part where the tribulation actually begins right here in verse 20, I believe. Yep. And when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that it is desolation is near. Oh no, actually, this is precursor to the abomination of desolation right here. It's letting you know the abomination is near. Verse 21, then let those in Yehuda flee to the mountains, and let those who are in the midst of her go out, and let not those who are in the fields enter her, because these are the days of vengeance to fulfill all that have been written. And woe to those who are pregnant and those who are nursing children in those days, for there shall be great distress or tribulation in the earth, and wrath upon this people. So basically you have, and my sister Shoshana, she has brought up a great point. You don't see the elderly or the sick being spoke of here in verse 23. So it is very, very plausible and possible that those that are sick and those that are elderly will be made whole around those times. Mainly it's talking about children, those that are nursing children, pregnant women, those, and it's talking about pretty much woe to those that are pregnant and those that are nursing children in those days. So pretty much be careful that, those that are pregnant, because they would have to run to the mountains basically. And then you also have, I think before that it starts talking about, let's see here, it talks about that your flight would not take place on the Sabbath or in winter, or maybe that's in Matthew. That might be in Matthew. I know Matthew 24 talks about pray that your flight would not take place on the Sabbath day or in winter. So let's see here. We got a couple of minutes here. I'm going to allow my brothers and sisters here to share anything that they have to share or make any comments before we do a part 2, because we only got a few minutes before we're going to have to do another session. So, Brother Dennis, Sister Sally, do you have anything to add or anything?
It sounded pretty good to me.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're definitely going to need another session to have enough time to do the rest of this study. So,
And the verses that talk about your flight not being on the Sabbath or in winter, that's Matthew 24, verse 20 and 21. It says, and pray that your flight does not take place in winter or on the Sabbath, for then there shall be great distress, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be. And then it says, if these days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the sake of the chosen ones, these days shall be shortened. So by the chosen ones, that's Yahushua's people, Yahuwah's people. That's us.
wow, I couldn't say that any better. So, thank you for joining us. Please stay tuned. We're going to be right back with part 2, and we're going to get into now the portion of the abomination of desolation and the great tribulation we're going to do next. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully you'll be back with us for the part 2. Shalom.
Shalom.